Call this meeting to order. Bradley County Commission Work Session, March 28th, 7 o'clock. The pledge tonight be led by Commissioner Mylan Blake and our invocation from Elkmont Baptist Pastor Tim Brown.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me as we pray? Father, tonight as we bow before you, we acknowledge that all power and all authority comes from you. You're the one that set the planets in place and makes our whole universe work, every detail. So God, we acknowledge that tonight and we thank you for that. We also acknowledge that, as you said in the book of Proverbs, that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And tonight, this group of commissioners needs your wisdom as they discuss challenges and opportunities, the business of this county. Thank you for each one of them, these men and women who have given their lives to serve this county, the people of Bradley County. So, Lord, I pray that you would bless them with wisdom tonight. And, Father, I pray that you would help them to understand the issues at hand and make decisions that honor you and that are the best for this county and the people, the citizens of this county. We thank you, God, that, again, that all power and all authority comes from you, and all wisdom is from your hand. We thank you for the grace and the mercy you've given us through Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Now a report from our County Mayor, Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. I believe it might have been Commissioner Peak that was asking questions about hospital funds last week. Is that correct? If I could answer you in general terms, I'll try to do that right now. And if you're needing exact dollars, I don't have that, but I don't usually speak in exact dollars anyway. To refresh everyone's memory, back when the discussion was going on about the sale of the hospital, the county commission came to a decision, county commission and the hospital board came to a joint decision that once the hospital was sold and the money was paid, that after all the bills were paid, then the proceeds would be split 50-50 with United Way and Bradley County. I think it sold for roughly $70 million, and it was a year or maybe 2 years it took to get all the bills paid down, all the liabilities paid off. At some point, they went ahead and gave United Way $20 million, assuming that it was going to be roughly a $40 million net after everything was paid. It ended up being about $15 million that was left then. So the bottom line is United Way got approximately $20 million and Bradley County got $15 million. Then the county commission agreed that they would never spend the principal from it. They only could spend the interest from the $15 million that was deposited, and it was $15 million and some odd dollars. So they agreed that they would not spend the principal, only spend the interest. So it was put in a fund that can't be touched except for the interest. And then you all created the HCI, the Healthy Community Initiative Committee, that recommends each year to this commission how that interest money is spent. So on our part of it, interest off of $15 million is spent through the HCI and approved by this commission. The $20 million that went to the United Way, they agreed to spend theirs on programs. We agreed to spend ours on more capital kind of projects, such as recreation facilities and things like that, whatever met the definition of healthy community. So that's roughly what's been going on since 06, 07, right in that time frame. Did that generally answer your questions, or you got more?
I think the one question this gentleman asked me is, how did it come to be that United Way got money and Bradley County got money? Why was it split to a nonprofit?
That's sort of like who created the landfill contract. It wasn't the mayor. The county commission and the hospital board, I suggested that we take the money and build a school with it, for example, and they were adamantly against that. So after weeks and months of discussion between the board and the county commission, and there was a legal issue, I guess you would say, out there of who owned the hospital. You know, they would argue that they owned it, we would argue we owned it, and I remember telling one of the board chairman, I think at that time, that if you own it, then why the heck are we paying the bond payments? But anyway, that discussion went on for months, and in the end, the agreement was reached between the commission and the school board that it be split, half go to the county and half go to United Way. The hospital board and the county commission, sorry if I said schools, so both entities agreed that it would be split, with United Way getting half and Bradley County getting half, but it could only be spent for healthy community, health, wellness, and welfare of the community, by definition. That was an agreement reached by the county commission and the hospital board at that time, and it ended up being approximately 20 million and 15 million.
In the same way that we use our 15, interest only?
They use it for healthy community issues, except they'll spend it on programs usually, where we'll spend it on bricks and mortar type things.
Did they only use the interest off of it, or did they still have the full 20?
I think they only use the interest. I don't know that that was in the court order. And a lot of people say it was a court order. It was an agreement by the county commission and the hospital board. It was ran through the courts to give it the legal standing that it has, but it was an agreement reached by the hospital board and the county commission. And as far as I know, they are. I can't speak for United Way, but they're supposed to be spending theirs for programs, and we're spending ours for walking trails and those kinds of things. Is there,
Mr. Blake?
and he's right. We can only spend interest less 15%. That way, the commission felt like that it would hopefully keep up with inflation, and the principal would continue to have a value there.
Thank you for explaining that. I guess some of us that weren't here way back then, I had no clue how it was distributed, why it was distributed, and where they keep asking me is, why aren't we using that money? It's our money. It's the taxpayers' money. And I knew about the HCI funds, but I didn't know how it came to be or any of that. So I
That's how
appreciate
you
giving
all
me the
spend the
details.
money, is the HCI committee recommends to this body, and you all spend it, and that money you're spending is the interest less the 85% of the interest is all you can spend. And so it's for healthy community initiative endeavors. If it fits that criteria, usually it's going to be walking trails or a recreation department, something, those things.
Water funds.
Water, yes. That's one of the things we do. And I can't say what all they do it for, but it's similar type things, except usually programs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
I think we need to clear the air a little bit. I was here. First of all, United Way never did loan the county hospital any money that I know of. The county did and signed for everything. And how they ended up with it, it was politics. That's what happened. And Jeff Miller went over to, and I'll say the name, don't care, went to Nashville and made a hospital authority out of it. And when he did, that gave them authority to what to do with the money and how to spend it. So that's the real thing right there. We should have had it all. We just one that paid the bills and signed the bonds.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Anyone else want to comment on the hospital?
If not, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving into reports from committees or districts. We'll start with you, Commissioner Winters.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Raper?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question, maybe for you or Mayor or just anyone that might can answer. On the matching funds we did for the organizations, have we heard anything on the city's part of that?
There was a report about that the other day. They were a couple weeks behind us, Mayor. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
you talking about the, like with Community Services
Yes,
Agency
yes.
building?
Yes, sir.
They are just a few weeks behind us, but they've indicated that they will be doing a up-to match also. And I think I don't know if they've gotten their final total or not. You know, we got a $100,000 estimate, but that was missing a lot of things. I think it was 150 the last time I heard. So, but they have unofficially said that's what they will probably be doing, but I don't, unless they did it, today wasn't a meeting, was it, or was it?
I think they have one.
Unless they've done it today. Okay, so they've not done it yet, but they've indicated both to me and to Community Services Agency that they would be doing an up-to match, sort of like we did.
Thank you both.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing to report, we will have an SPCA meeting March the 30th in the Louis Alford Conference Room, and that will be at 12 o'clock.
March
all.
30th,
Mhm.
30th at noon?
Wednesday, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mason?
I was on the 6th.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Slater?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had another successful day last Saturday disposing of tires. I'd like to thank the Bradley High School football team for coming out and helping us on Saturday morning. We were able to dispose of over 900 tires from exit 20. That's a total of over 2,700 tires from exit 20 that have been disposed of, and over 4,700 tires to date. If you know anyone looking for volunteer opportunities, high school students needing volunteer hours, I would encourage you to reach out to Amanda Pills for Keep America Beautiful. There's events going on, excuse me, almost every weekend as we continue to try to clean up all the illegal tires dumped in Bradley County. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's the latest on possible legislation? We're doing a great job of cleaning up, but we're not going to be able to keep up if we don't get something with teeth in it in Nashville.
Correct, and I will defer to Commissioner Blake on that.
Go ahead, Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, I talked to Senator Bell at the pancake breakfast the other day about that. They've made a few little changes, but he felt positive about it. I think, don't quote me on this, but they got into like whether it's 4 tires or 8 tires that had to qualify to be a felony or something like that. But it is making its way through committees, is what he said.
Good.
And I also chatted with the district attorney. That's kind of what he's waiting for. I'm speaking at an abstract level so that they can so they can prosecute. So we'll see.
Thank you, Commissioner Blake. Anything else, Commissioner Slater? Thank you. Commissioner Goins? All right. Commissioner Thompson? All right. Commissioner Peak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The landfill committee meeting, we had a committee meeting this afternoon. Republic answered questions, and we heard from the community as well. Republic will be taking back a lot of the questions that were asked from the audience and getting back to us on with those answers. I think it was a good, informative meeting, and I hope that we heard from everybody that wanted to be heard from. If you didn't have opportunity to speak, which I think most everybody here did, but if you did not, please just reach out to me in an email or Lori in an email, and we'll get any more questions that you have answered on from Republic. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Peak. Commissioner Blake?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. Commissioner Pete did a good job with her committee. Just not to be one to correct anything, but the McDonald community has benefited from that when we started receiving those funds. All of Bradley County, I think, has shared in the benefit of the revenue from the landfill. Mr. Chairman, a couple things. I passed out to everybody real quickly. I couldn't get it onto the electronic format. You have in front of you this little invoice here from Digitech. You'll recall Digitech is the company that we contract with to do the billing for our EMS services. I just want to point out something real quick. You see right there, this is the January 2002. You see the service period there, and basically the $217,330.78, and then the .0419 rate right there. I just brought one invoice for you to see. I did that because I had an opportunity to be at the EMS meeting Chairman Hughes brought or had on last Thursday. And one of the things that was talked about was bringing this billing service in-house. In other words, it would be county employees doing all this stuff instead of us outsourcing. And I want to say up front, I'm not against that. But what I do hope this commission does with, working with the mayor's office and the director, is we get some answers. Because if you look at that number right there, the question, I guess, top of my head would be, is that the number that we sent to them to bill? If that is the case, then they collected it, then there's other reasons why. Without getting into the details and the weeds of it, I just think that we need to move cautiously and slowly if we are going to bring this in-house, because we don't want to go from a situation that isn't where we want to another, and bring it in-house, and it still isn't fixed. So a lot of questions need to be answered, or need to be asked and need to be answered before we do that, because sometimes things are said in committee and they get direction and they go forth and with that kind of thing. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. There's a lot of questions on that. Right now, I'm doing a lot of research with Lori's help, compiling a lot of data in the account analysis report. And in the finance committee, we'll be talking about that as we get into the next budget. So let's move cautiously. I'm not against it, but let's move cautiously to moving this in-house and make sure that we make a good decision on that. This week, let's see, I think, next Monday is the deadline to register to vote and participate in the May 3rd primary. Obviously, elections is important to me. It's important to all of us for a number of reasons. But I do want a few little points in my election commission days. If you know anybody who is going to be out of town with military, what have you, they can go ahead and request a ballot right now today. If you know somebody that's their birthday turned 18 after next Monday, but they're 18 on May 3rd or before, they can go ahead and register with the election commission today. They don't have to wait till their birthday, because obviously their birthday would be after next Monday. So just a few little points of detail on that. And I always say, I hope everybody participates in the election process. We spend about $45,000, or we budget about $45,000. It's already paid for, so take advantage of it and go vote. Mr. Chairman, also, this will be the last reminder, because this Friday is the day we've all been looking forward to, and I think you're going to be mentioning it, but that is the Great American Breakfast, formerly known as, you guessed it, the Solid Waste Breakfast. Last but not least, I need to make a quick change to the budget calendar. The mayor will still have his budget proposal on that Monday, which will be June 6th. I'm going by memory, which I shouldn't do. We normally meet on that Thursday and go over it. That's been coined as the mega meeting. I need to move that to Friday. That'll give us an extra day to review, but I'll be out of town on that Thursday. So we'll have that. That's also the day that we do the true ups as well. So if you'll make a note on that, I'd appreciate it. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Alford.
Yes, just a couple of things, Chairman. I'd like to give compliments to the airport authority. Looks like the beaver situation's pretty well cleared up. I went by there the other day and the pond's dry. So obviously somebody did a good job, I understood, and they hired some people to go in there and get the beavers gone, so that looks good. But one other little problem, now that the weather's gotten warm again, the racetrack started again. So anyway, next problem for the authority maybe. It looks like a drag strip out through there. But anyway, other than that, the second district is doing well.
At least they won't hit the beavers.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, the Emergency Service Committee met last week and discussed concerns with collection totals for the current fiscal year. Mayor Davis and EMS Director Fairbanks explained a letter containing our questions and concerns was submitted to the Digitech, and we are awaiting answers. We will keep you posted on it. To Commissioner Blake's question, I think that we are going to move cautiously and slowly with all answers before we make any suggestions. Mayor Davis, do you want to respond on any of that?
No, I agree, and I don't remember the dates, but we did send them a letter giving them 6 months to make some improvements. Our people over there have some rooms for improvements also, I think you alluded to there. And I'm meeting with them regularly to see how their improvements are coming, and then we'll see if they make the improvements from the letter. It's hard to tell from those reports, the ups and downs. They can send stuff in, they don't necessarily get it back. And then you've also got, if you're looking at that analysis, you've got deletions that come off of the money that's brought in, and that's very important. So you got to take all those things into account when you're looking at it. Bottom line is, though, the collections are down, and they're down from what they should be, and both sides have got to do a lot better job of it. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
And also during the meeting, we spoke about staffing continues to be an issue with EMS, but Chief Fairbanks noted there's been a few students, which is 4 students at Cleveland State will help us upon our graduation. Those 4, 2 of those came from the program that we enacted where the grant was put in place. Cleveland State has graciously offered to pay the way for these other 2, so we've gained 4 paramedics out of this. Fire Chief Fairbanks reported 8 will soon begin in 12 weeks of rookie school for the fire department. Chief Fairbanks also reported a new ladder truck final inspection in July. And otherwise, we will post you once we get more information on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hughes. Commissioner Alford, do you have something else?
I had one other.
Go ahead, because what I was going to do is recognize Superintendent Knight. I think she was wanting to speak about this report that we got from our Enviro Suite. So.
Yes, I had one other concern, this weekend. Obviously, someone got on their fields out on the north end, the softball field and the baseball field, and done donuts, tore the place up pretty good. I was out there looking at it today. I don't know what we can do about that, Mayor, but somehow or another, we need to try to secure those parks. But talking to the people out there who have to fix all that, they were wondering, says it happens quite often. People just drive out there and they just do donuts on the infield and the outfield and look pretty good, like they tore it up pretty good. They got the description of the truck and they got a picture of the truck, but they didn't get a license plate. So we need to look at maybe trying to secure it, because we got a lot of money invested in those parks, and it's a shame to keep getting them tore up like that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hughes.
Let me recognize Superintendent Knight for, I think she's going to speak about Enviro Suites, the report that we've gotten.
Okay.
Good evening. I apologize for not being at the committee meeting before. Mr. Roark and I have spent numerous hours today going over some reporting, and I think Lori handed y'all out a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I emailed it to Autumn so that she will have it. And I know these reports are kind of hard to read if you don't understand what you're looking at, which we had schooling in it, so we're figuring it out. But at the bottom of the chart, you'll see the different colors, and on most of them, you can see a peak, especially, is it Reno? On the Reno site, you can see at 4 o'clock every day, there's a peak, you know, and there's certain things coming in at that time. They're reading different things, and I'm going to go over those real quick. The first one is your odor. The odor should not be above 0. You shouldn't have any odor. So anything over 0 is something to be concerned about. The second thing is VOC, which is volatile organic compounds. And correct me if I'm wrong on anything. This is like your gases, kerosenes, different things like that. This should not be above 750 parts per billion. So, your graph, you know, you can look at things like this. The H2S is your hydrogen sulfide. It shouldn't be over 10,000 parts per billion. And then the NH3 is your ammonia, and it shouldn't be over 5,000 parts per billion. Now, we've noticed a lot of these, and we were looking at the wind directions and stuff, and you can tell from reporting that a couple of the high ammonia were possibly from farmers putting, you know, chicken stuff on their fields and things like that. So it's very easy to break those out and things. But we can tell that there's a pattern at certain times at the landfill. They're not really, some of them have gotten close to limits, but nothing really has gone over. Just physically around being there at the landfill, we've noticed a decrease in the odor most of the time. But every now and then there is one. So we think the monitoring is really helping. It's keeping them on their toes and everything. So we'll be glad to answer any questions anybody's got.
Commissioner Peak and then Commissioner Blake.
You said that it's not, that the odor monitor is not supposed to be over 0?
Yeah, if your odor monitor, if it shows anything over 0, that means you're already smelling something. So, I mean, your goal is you don't want to smell the landfill.
Okay.
It's not really a failing number. It's just an indicator that something's going on.
That there is odor.
Yes.
So they don't have a threshold that would be allowable in odor since it is a landfill. When you think landfill, I think odor. But so on their scale, 0, we should have 0 all the time.
Pretty much, yes.
Commissioner Blake.
When did this monitoring system actually go in place and you started getting reports?
The 9th of this month. Let's see. Yeah, March the 9th. All the monitors were reading correctly. We had a lot of issues with different parts, recalls on them and things like that, and had to change several different things out. But we started reading on the 9th, and we've got a couple weeks of reports now.
Okay, so you started, if memory serves, started the installation process back in November or late fall or something like that. So that's
Yeah.
fine. So you just started
Yes.
a couple weeks ago. In your training or what have you, did they talk about that some of this could be quote unquote seasonal? In other words, when we get into June and July and August where it's in the 90s, your readings have to be interpreted a little bit different, or is it no matter what, whether it's 32
Right.
degrees or whether it's 90 degrees, the
Correct.
reports are to be interpreted the same?
Correct. And that's one of the things that Mr. Roark was noticing, that was that last snow that we had. We did pull up the reports, and you can tell as the snow fell and covered up the area that your numbers went down because it was covered up. It was containing the fumes, the gases, everything.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes.
Superintendent Knight, I was going to mention to you, a lot of, you were talking about the colors, these are actually in black and white, what we've got, so it's difficult to know.
Oh, sorry.
That's a,
That doesn't help y'all a
email
whole lot
help
then.
though, but it is an email. so-
Email.
They're really
I-
pretty.
But I was looking at this report though, and it is, for me, it's much more easy. I'm used to just pulling it up on the computer and looking at it, so it's to me, it's easier off the computer just looking at it at that time. But anyway, thank you for that.
Mr. Winters.
Could you give us a little advice how to read this color?
If-
What is it telling us?
Well, your
What is-
colors are your different
Got
monitors.
red, purple.
Yeah. Your
orange.
colors are your different monitors. We actually have
Yeah.
4 monitors. We have one at the road department.
Right.
We have one on Reno Drive. We have one on York Circle, and we have one on Bancroft Road. So each one is in a different color, and you can tell relative to each monitor which way the wind's blowing, because the smell will be higher, or the ammonia or whatever will be higher in that direction. So you can pull them out, and that's another thing, as y'all look at these reports, if there's a certain thing that would help you more, you know, one report per monitor for each item, so that you can tell exactly what it is, or if it works better with all 4 monitors on one report so you can compare. We can break out the reports any way you want them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Are the reports being shared with Republic?
I have not shared them yet. We just finished the second report up today. So I'm gonna share them. I'll send them first thing in the morning or tonight, just here in a minute.
Commissioner Everson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sandra, do you plan on maybe coming back to the commission, maybe quarterly or whatever, and try to give us an update on how the monitoring is being performed?
Whatever y'all request, we'll be glad to.
So if we wanted to break this down by site,
Mhm.
like Reno Drive or whatever, we could ask for, all the different chemicals on
Yes,
from Reno or Bancroft area.
yes.
We can do those any way we want.
You can
to
break
ask.
it down by site, you can break it down
It's
by
not
chemical.
any problem to ask for that, or
No,
they're easy to pull up. Okay.
no problem.
All right. Commissioner Winters.
I've always thought some of this might be agriculture. Is there a way to track back where that's coming from, if it's fertilizer or if it's some kind of work being done on farm?
There is some. I know we talked about getting back with the company. They have a way of deciphering it down further. A lot of it that we were deciphering, we were just looking from the wind direction. The wind was coming, from a different direction than the landfill. You can pretty much tell it's farming. And you can, pinpoint at any time. You can read it minute by minute.
Any other questions? Thank you. If not, appreciate it. Anything else, Commissioner Hughes?
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Epperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had received numerous calls and emails about the landfill and the discussion prior to coming to this meeting today that Commissioner Peak chaired, and a lot of concerns in the first district with this new process of this liquid that they propose to handle. And it was a little discouraging at this meeting that they basically didn't agree to any of the questions that I posed. So, but they are asking for some more time to consider. So I look forward to, hopefully, maybe they'll come back and agree to not bring any more sludge in, and if they would move forward with this other process. But we'll see. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Epperson. Commissioner Peak.
Commissioner Epperson, were you gonna do something with that?
I'll wait to the voting session next week. That's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Moving into agenda items. Item A, Commissioner Mason.
This is just a petition to close and abandon a portion of county right-of-way known as Old Upper River Road, and you can see page 2. Place it on next week's voting session.
Any questions concerning this, anyone? Okay, none being. Item B, Mr. Mason.
This is also a petition to close and abandon a portion of county right-of-way known as Spring Branch Road, and that's southwest, and you can see page 3 from that. And we all did meet at our committee meeting. We all voted unanimous to go ahead.
So both of these were unanimous by the road committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions? All right, this time, communication from the audience. Anybody want to speak before the commission? If you'll come up here, state your name, and if you're uncomfortable giving your address, you can give it to her privately, okay? You have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Sarah Brune, and I'm from District 4. And I'm a volunteer with Advocates for Bradley County. And I just wanted to give a friendly reminder about the Bradley County voter guide that's coming out. It's going to be released on April 4th. And we wanted to ensure that you had every opportunity to participate so that voters know where you stand on the issues. The deadline for submissions for this is April 2nd. And you'll have your information submitted and included on the 2022 voters guide. And just to let y'all know, we had a press release today, so you'll probably see more information about the voter guide in the next few days throughout the local and regional media. If you have any questions or about filling out the portions of your profile, you can feel free to email me at advocatesforbradley@gmail.com. And we're looking forward to seeing all of your participation in the voter guide.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak before the commission? Yes, sir.
Y'all are all looking chipper today. I guess this is the, to my wonderment and amazement, the fact that we have a finding on a commissioner, and the last 3 years we've had the audit committee meeting, which the state of Tennessee compels the audit committee to deal with any findings, no matter what they are, especially findings that benefit one individual. It's just interesting that over the last 3 years, these committee meetings have been held in the first quarter of that year. In 2019, they were held on February 25th. In 2020, they were held on January 16th. And last year, they were held on March 1st. Now, we have a contentious race that the commissioner that has a finding, and all of a sudden, we have a audit committee meeting that's been moved. As actually, the date has not been set, but in a previous meeting, it was alluded to that sometime in May or June, that's even more interesting that that's after the election. So whether there's anything going on or not, I think even the appearance of impropriety is clearly a problem. And I think that anyone who looks at this knows that you don't have to meet till June. But I saw someone had answered that this meeting didn't seem like a big deal in it because you had till June. Well, in reality, yes, it is, because you would think that you would want to clear the air on this by having it as soon as possible, rather than having the appearance that there's some type of impropriety and that this has been moved till after the election. I think that's a really, really bad precedent to set. I find it alarming, and I've had a multitude of people contact me about this. How do we come to that? Are we back to the old school board days, meeting before a meeting? Is that what's going on? Because I've heard that from commissioners. How do you come to this and as a commissioner not think that this is a bad deal and looks bad? So what are we going to do? We're going to appear to protect this individual, and we're going to move this till after the election. Am I the only one in this room that finds this alarming? Does this not appear to be a problem? I find it to be a problem. Everybody I've talked to finds it to be a problem. I don't know why someone didn't step up and say, hey, I think you ought to take care of this and get it done, get it settled. Because clearly, state comptroller's office finds this to be a big problem. And they weren't having any of the excuse that was given. They clearly put this finding in there. And, when someone in authority derives benefit from a vote, I think that should be drawn out, and let's answer this right now. Let's get this settled. So why are we putting it till after the election? If this wasn't an election year, maybe. But anybody who's looked around knows this is a contentious election. So I want to know why this has not been settled and dealt with. Somebody have a legitimate, we have we have prior history right here, and I only went back 3 years. I just didn't feel like going back any farther. I thought that was a pretty good precedent right there. So, I want to know why. I think there's other people here that want to know why. And, I think you should hold this committee meeting before early voting starts. Because everybody knows probably 55% is going to be, of the election is decided during early voting. That's it. And I'd like to thank the commissioner for addressing correctly exactly how that transpired with the HIC money and stuff. That's how it happened.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak before the commission? Okay, not being so, announcements. Next meeting will be Monday, April the 4th at noon here at the courthouse. The forum forum for judicial candidates will be 4 o'clock tomorrow at the Chamber of Commerce. The forum for city school board members will be at 4 o'clock on March 31st at the Chamber of Commerce. Keep America Beautiful breakfast with RSVP is April 1st, 7 o'clock at the museum. Finance Committee, April 4th at 11:30 in the Commission Room, and Santec is Wednesday at noon, correct? SPCA, I'm sorry. SPCA. Okay. Is there anything else?